Welcome, friends. It's Miss Gisa, and today I have a very special guest joining us, author Barbara Ann Mojica. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for being here with us. Barbara is a teacher, a former principal, a parent, grandparent, historian, and author of the Little Miss History book series. Barbara, I was reading your biography and noticed you are a historian. Do you like to focus on a particular area of history?
Well, I focus mostly on American history because there is so much of the visual experience embroiled in my books. First of all, we take most of the photographs ourselves, and by we, I say my husband and I. My husband is the illustrator of the books, and he does most of the photography. I do some of it. We generally go to the historical site and use photographs from the site, incorporate that with what we call mixed media. And by mixed media, I mean a combination of photography, portraits, the cartoon character who narrates the series,
Yes.
and other types of vignettes, charts, whatever the particular subject calls for. So it's a very, very uh, focused approach, but at the same time, it's very open-ended. Depending on the site, it might involve more than history. So we may be talking about a bit of science, we may be talking about environment, we may be talking about military and the high seas, we might be talking about space. It could involve numerous topics.
Now, what grades did you teach and how long were you a teacher?
Well, I'm dating myself, but I taught for 40 years. I started teaching at the age of 20.
That's incredible.
I've taught grades K through 7 and preschool. I've taught in the general education format and also in special education. For many years, I was an education teacher in the various elementary grades, and then I became interested in special education because I found that a lot of the children with special needs just weren't getting what they needed. So I developed an interest in that. I went back to school and I got recertified in special education and eventually administration because I went from working in a special ed preschool and working with children with very, very severe needs to a principal of a preschool. And then eventually I found my way into being an administrator with New York City, and I was involved in finding and awarding the services that children needed, evaluating them, writing their IEPs, and so on.
So important.
I kind of ran the gamut. I've done team teaching. I've done a little bit of everything. So children from infancy, through age 12, pretty much.
Now, while you were teaching, is that when you also started writing your Little Miss History series, or did that come later?
No, I didn't really start writing the Little Miss History series until I left the classroom formally.
Okay.
Well, I kind of thought I would retire, and I kind of wanted to move out of the city and back up to the area that I had been visiting for many, many years. And I just wanted to live there full time. When I retired, quotes, it lasted about 2 months because I started writing articles for a local news magazine, and I really wanted to get back to working with kids. So this was actually my husband's idea. He said, well, why don't you get involved with writing some books for children? And I said, yeah,
Fabulous idea.
that's a great idea. So he said, you know what? I can develop a character because he's done a lot of cartooning and he still does cartoon strips. He does pirate cartoon strip, Captain Crunch. So he developed a character for me and he said, we can use the character to narrate the series because I wanted to make learning history fun.
Yes.
And I wanted to have the kids see themselves.
Yes, yes.
In the adventure. So he developed the Little Miss History character. And the Little Miss History character is modeled on a younger version of myself.
I wasn't wondering. That was going to be one of my questions. She's so charming and so unique that I was wondering if she was inspired by someone. So,
yeah, she's kind of a mix of components. So the sunglasses, I used to have these rose-colored glasses, and they reflect kind of an optimistic viewpoint. The outfit is kind of like a hiking wannabe camper outfit, and I used to love to hike, and I hiked all through the mountain ranges in New York and the surrounding area, and I love to travel. I always wanted to travel, and as a child, my parents didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't have the money to go traveling. But as soon as I was an adult and had saved enough money, I went traveling all over the world. So she's a component of me. The boots are in memory of my father, who had huge size 13 feet. And so they're exaggerated. They're hiking boots, but they're exaggerated in size. So yeah, her components they're me and they're exaggerated versions. So she's cartoonish. My husband uses exaggeration of some of the features just to make her a little bit more endearing.
She's adorable.
I do love the character.
She is adorable. Tell us a little bit about the series.
Well, the series involves Little Miss History taking the readers to various historical and cultural sites. So I choose places that I think children and their families and or teachers, grandparents would like to visit. And a lot of the people who buy my books actually buy the book and then go on a trip.
Yes.
To the site. And that's what I had intended because I wanted them to experience, it's great to experience it through a book with pictures, but if you can actually go there and immerse yourself in the culture, that's even better. So that's why I choose a lot of national parks. Because it gives families the opportunity to experience the outdoors, to spend time together, and to, at the same time, experience culture and history.
Yes.
Because I tell children that the moment they're born, they become a character in history.
That's right.
And history, we all have a history, and we use what we learned in the past to help us do better today, and then to form a plan for someday making a brighter future. So I also involve a lot of citizenship, children becoming active in their communities, noticing historical things, but also creating their own memories with their friends.
Yes, yes. And it's funny that you say that the reason why you wrote the series, because that's precisely how I found you. I found you as a parent first. We were going to go visit, some places, and I looked up and I saw, oh my gosh, I want to take my daughter to Sequoia, and we've been to Sequoia several times, but the first time, and I found your book series that way. And so I used it with her. And then subsequently, I have a love and a passion for the national parks and monuments. And so I've been doing this series, on YouTube, and I love that I'm able to tell others about your Little Miss History series because it's a perfect preparation. Like, it's perfect to read your stories before visiting these monuments. They're so fun, concise, informative. They're perfect for that.
And I try to include little known facts. In every book, I try to find a person, an event, a place, something that isn't widely known in the general public. So I like to give kids other avenues to explore. So one of my hopes is that uh, they'll see something in the book and they'll go off on a tangent and explore it further. And I like to put in a lot of questions too. I always ask them what they think. Well, this is a problem. How do you think we could solve the problem?
Tell us, how many books are in your series? Because when I first found you, there were certainly not as many as there are now.
Well, there are 13 books in the Little Miss History Travels to, which is the bulk of the series.
Okay.
And so there are 13 now. The latest is the Battleship Iowa. That was released a couple of months ago. And I have a coloring book that is more than a coloring book. It's a coloring book, and I have blank pages in between so that the pages can be torn out. They can kind of create their own portraits. But they also have famous quotes from history in the book and a few little activities for them to do. So it's more of an activity book than a coloring book, and adults or children enjoy working with those. And then I have one of my books, I put together 3 of the individual volumes. A lot of teachers in New York wanted to have a larger book that would focus on New York state history. So I took the Statue of Liberty book, the Ellis Island book, and the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. And I put them together in one volume. So it's a trilogy book. And that one's called The Adventures of Little Miss History.
Well, for our viewers, I will go ahead. I didn't know about your coloring book. I hadn't come across that one. So I will go ahead and link your website and all your books below, so that if families want to purchase, they'll know exactly how to do that. Which of your books was the easiest to write?
Generally, they take between 4 to 6 months between the research, the writing, and then revision, because I generally revise a book about a dozen times.
Okay, do you hear that, kiddos? She revises her book a dozen.
I know they hate it. Revise, rewrite.
12 times.
Right.
Yes.
And that's probably the most difficult part of writing a children's picture book. And you really have to pare it down. And that is really, really hard, because you want to give so much information, but that doesn't work with a picture book. You have to have room for the illustration. And the illustration actually continues the story. So the illustration is showing them what you are not actually telling them in words.
Yes.
And like a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So they get a lot from the pictures. So I rely a lot on the pictures. And sometimes that's part of the reason it takes so long to write the book, because I may think I have it all worked out. I have all the text exactly the way I want it. And I think we've got all the pictures. Well, then my illustrator, AKA my husband, and he starts laying it out. He lays it out in thumbnails first, and then actually starts doing the pictures. Now, sometimes his vision of how to portray something doesn't mesh with the text. So I sometimes will have to extend some things or cut some things to make it flow. So that's the final step. And sometimes that takes more time than others. So I would say the easiest one to write was probably Ford's Theater.
Okay.
Little Miss History Travels to Ford's Theater, because that site was fairly compact. We went there, we got the pictures. The mood of that book is very somber. So most of that book, it's a more black and white book than the others, because the mood, of course, is very somber and serious.
Right.
And I think that one was probably easier to write in terms of not being overwhelmed with the material, the amount of material. Because I knew that I had to limit it to Ford's Theater, and I wasn't going to be giving this story before and all of the story afterwards, just touching on it. So that was probably the easiest. The hardest, I think, would be one of the more recent books, the Independence Hall and the Museum of the American Revolution. Now, I combined those two because there's a zillion things you can talk about in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I mean, the whole Independence Hall site encompasses the Liberty Bell, and the first banks, and Benjamin Franklin's graveyard, and the churches, and the assembly, and the Senate, and the actual Congress Hall. There's just so much material. And I couldn't leave out the Museum of the American Revolution, because that only opened in 2017. But that place is a treasure trove.
When there's so much, it's hard to figure out, like, what do you want to include, because you want to give a good representation, right? I'm definitely putting that on my list, Barbara. Now that you gave it such a great recommendation, I'm going to have to visit. Do you have plans to add more books to your history series?
Definitely. I have a few more in manuscript format. That haven't been, put to illustration. And I have a trip coming up at the end of this month. We plan to go to Monticello, and I plan to do a book on Jefferson's home, and that's my next stop. In the last book that I released, The Battleship Iowa, I always give a hint, the next stop will be, and it will be Jefferson's home at Monticello. Also, we're going to visit some other of the historical sites in and around Virginia, so there may be future books there.
Wonderful.
And some local history in my area. I have my sites on a couple of things. So yes, there definitely will be more as long as I'm able to write them. I will be writing them.
We are looking forward to reading them. So thank you. And I'll put the links below. Can you just let everyone know, where can people buy your books? I see that you have a great Little Miss History shirt where they get all the Little Miss History swag.
They can get the books online virtually anywhere. They're available on Amazon. The quickest place would be to go to my author page on Amazon, and then they're all listed there.
Great.
Barnes and Noble online. Most of them are at Walmart. They are at bookshop.org, which is a very popular online website, indiebound.org, and lots of independent bookstores have them as well.
Great.
On my website, there are some links to reviews. From my website, littlemisshistory.com, you can get virtually anywhere. I have a YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, I do mini lessons for teachers and parents.
Yay!
I do storytelling videos. I have kids' history videos, videos on national parks, videos on why you should study history, why history is important, interviews, podcasts, pretty much trivia challenges for adults.
Oh, wow.
So I have a little bit of everything on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I have a blog. I like to review books for kids.
Okay.
So I'm a top reviewer on Amazon, and I review zillions of children's books. So on my blog, I do family-friendly book reviews,
Great.
and I do articles for parenting, author's advice, pretty much anything you can think of. You'll find it there.
You are a wealth of knowledge, and history is one area that I find we could do better in, especially teaching history in elementary school. So I hope that the parents will go and check out your website and check out these fabulous books. We're so appreciative to have these as a resource. Thank you,
Thank
Barbara.
you, and I sure hope that they get out and experience some of their local culture and history.
Yes, 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 yes. That is a goal, right? Just to get, because I find that's the best way to get kids interested in history, is to actually go to some of these sites and have the picture books spark their interest, and then actually go to those sites to really live it and experience it.
Right, they can see themselves as the future heroes of tomorrow, right?
Yes.
The future leaders of
Yes, yes. Barbara, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for spending time, chatting and letting us know about your series. And we hope to have you back when when you release your Monticello book.
Well, that would be great. I'd love to.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll
Bye.
see everyone again soon. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to like and subscribe to support our channel. Barbara, can I see what's on the back of your shirt?
Oh, sure. This is Little Miss History, and mine too. Her motto is, if you don't know your history, you don't know what you're talking about.
I love that.